is the biggest percentage of Latinos who voted for a gubernatorial candidate in New Jersey, 68%. And Mikie Sherrill did it. And we did it by one-on-one conversations, by recreating the base, by having relationships, and then investing in Latino media, Univision, Telemundo, YouTube, the local newspapers, and then putting a team on the ground that came from the community. And then people see themselves invested in the party. That takes a lot of work. It's not easy. You have to fight with the consultants team for the resources. You have to convince them that those resources need to be spent. But being in the room, having those conversations makes the difference. And I think that that's the opportunity that I had with Mikie Sherrill. And that's the opportunity that all of us, if you're young and you're 20, 25, don't be allowed just to be put in one spot on the field. Learn the entire game.
We need to bring in our special guest, because what me and Mike Madrid need to clean up this show is a Latina that knows what the hell she's talking about. We are honored today to be joined by my dear friend, old friend, who I have known maybe longer than anybody that I've known in Washington, even though she's not here, Patricia Campos-Medina. You should know that me and Patricia met years ago when she was an intern in D.C., working for the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement, where I was on the board. Mike, I was still in labor. I still had black hair. I was skinnier and more muscular then. And Patricia come walking on into LACLA, and we've been friends for 30 years.
Beautiful.
Dr. Patricia, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for reminding me of that moment. You know, he still talked the same, looked the same, a little bit skinnier, but he had that same attitude, and I loved it.
Well, thank you for being here. Patricia is from New Jersey. There's a reason why she was the co-chairwoman for the Mikie Sherrill campaign. She was the highest-ranking Latino in the campaign, working with the coordinated campaign, the local Democratic Party. She was in charge of all things Latino, working with the community, with the field operations, working with the paid media team. She's probably the most important person in New Jersey in this last election that you haven't heard of. So me and Mike wanted to get her on the podcast to find out what actually happened, what went down. But before we get into that, and then I'm going to kick it over to Mike after you do this piece, I think it's really important for you to tell our viewers, this is the Latino Vote podcast. Me and Mike only talk to Latinas and Latinos about what's going on. But I think it's important for you to give the audience your 5-minute story of how you got to where I met you as an intern and your family's journey to the U.S., because I know it's very unique.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chuck, and thank you for asking me that. I am an immigrant woman. I came to the United States from El Salvador when I was 14 years old to reunite with my parents, who had left El Salvador at the beginning of the war. And because of our immigration laws, even in the 80s, I was separated from them for about 10 years. So when you met me, I had, I came to the United States, I learned English, got a scholarship to the Ivy League university. And I was fresh out of college when we met, and I decided that I wanted to change the world and join the labor movement. And I being a union organizer, a policy director, a legislative director, a political director for many labor unions. And one day my union, which was Unite Here, asked me to come to New Jersey to settle a strike, of casino workers. That was 2004. And since then, I've been in New Jersey, and I'm a Jersey girl, like I said. So I come from the labor movement, doing politics for workers, working for making sure that Latinos have a voice in politics. And that's how you have always been in touch, because we were the Latinos in the labor movement trying to figure out how to get the movement to focus on immigrant workers and on Latino workers. And I've been privileged to be able to do that and also run for office. I ran for the United States Senate last year here in New Jersey. I felt like Latinos needed a voice. And I always tell this, there shouldn't be a seat open to go to Congress without a Latino running in them, and Latino operators like us and you helping us win. So that's a little bit of my story, and that's how I ended up being the co-chair for Mikie Sherrill for governor, because she saw the need to have a strong Latina voice, helping her chart the path to gain back the losses that the Democrats have had in New Jersey with Latino voters.
Dr. Campos-Medina, felicidades. Congratulations. What a big night. What a big victory. It's not too often in this business that we get such big nights where everything breaks the right way and all of your work comes to fruition. Obviously, you worked really, really hard. Can you tell us a little bit about, because you were there in 2024 also, some of the biggest Hispanic Latino shifts were happening in Passaic County, Union County, in New Jersey. What's going on? What is driving this behavior, just broadly? What is the big picture that you were finding on the campaign?
I think I've been a broken record in New Jersey politics for the last 10 years, 20 years about the lack of investment on the Latino vote from the Democratic Party for a long time. Nationally as well, I was part of Harry trying to help Harris win and trying to help Hillary win. So what we had seen nationally, we saw it right here in New Jersey, is that in places that Democrats were ahead, in New Jersey is a blue state. Everybody thinks, we're blue. We just have to tell people Trump is bad. We don't have to invest in that turnout. That's what we are in. We were in New Jersey for the last 10 years. And in 2016, when was the first time that we lost votes, about 6 points in Passaic, I wrote about it. You can find that article. And I said the gains of Donald Trump are because of the lack of investment from Democrats on the Latino vote. And ever since then, it kept increasing to the point that about, Donald Trump, 24 points ahead in some of our counties. It was unbelievable. But when we came to this election, we were clear-eyed. And I learned a lot running statewide in New Jersey about where Latinos were at. Their issues haven't changed. Latinos are in an economic crisis. They feel that at any given moment, they won't be able to pay the rent or won't be able to keep their business open. They're in economic crisis. And what they want is somebody talking to them about those bread and butter issues. And Democrats in 2024 just telling them Donald Trump is bad, but things are good because Biden is doing good. It didn't help. What we needed to do is going back to actually listening to them and making sure that we were addressing the concerns that they wanted. And you needed to put money on the ground to get people working. We needed to get people who understood the community with the cultural nuance. I mean, I was happy that Chuck's team was able to be on the ground in Passaic with us. I mean, it's a badge of honor for me because I always say you have to have Latino consultants working the Latino base. You have to be listening to us because we know what they need. And I think that we did that. And I'm very proud that Mikie Sherrill was willing to listen to me. And that's why I joined her in January when she asked me to join her campaign, because I said, if you were willing to listen to me, then I'll join you in this effort. And I think her team was open to having tough conversations and putting the money in the field. And that's what we ended up doing.
I'd like to tell a story that I don't know if you know that folks would understand. In the primary, Mike, there was a lot of left-wing candidates who ran from labor, from the progressive base of the party. You remember the mayor of Newark got arrested at the ICE facility, Mike?
Yes.
We talked about it here.
Yeah.
He's a left-wing guy. He's a dear friend of Patricia's. And she had a lot of other friends who ran that are left-wing labor people, like she grew up in this community in New Jersey. I think it's important for folks to know that she took a risk, and I'll say it because she won't, to go over and work for a quote-unquote moderate because she knew we needed to win if we really want to make change. We still fight for our values, still fight for labor, and fight for the things. But she went over and worked for Mikie because Mikie was going to give her a chance to be the highest ranking staffer in that campaign. It would have been much easier for her. And I want to make sure that folks understand this when you're trying to figure this out. Mike gets it more than anybody here because of the way he was ostracized in his own party, is that she took a risk and she went to work for the moderate. And people called her out and said she was a sellout or other things because she was working for the quote unquote moderate. But because of what she did, she literally changed history in New Jersey now. Speak to that a little bit as other women, other Latina leaders will be listening to this, Patricia, about what you learned from that experience.
What I learned is that it is important for us as Latino operatives to actually be in places where decisions get made and where you can have influence in what the message is, what the spending is, what the team is looking at. That makes a whole lot of difference. And I have fought all of us have to fight for that spot in whatever campaign we're at. But I felt also that, I had run for office the year before. I had gone as a progressive. I had gone up around the state. And I could go into any Latino community, even Republican Latino community, because they were proud of me that as a Latina, I was running for office. But I also had to hear and listening to them as to why they had voted for Donald Trump. And it's not a hateful reason why they voted for Donald Trump. It's just because they felt like he was reaching out to them and talking to them, and Democrats were taking them for granted. And I have felt that, I know, in the 20 years that I'm being a proud Democrat, 30 years of my whole life, that sometimes we are just ignore our opinions, or how do we talk to our community. So to me, what I learned in this process, and Ras Baraka had supported him in all of his races, Stephen Fuller, we did the minimum wage together, but I felt that they were too dogmatic on how they thought the approach to Latino was going to be. And what we needed to do was to change it and listen, and then make the investment that we needed to make in order to change the paradigm of Latinos feeling left out by the party. Now, we have work to do. We came back. Mikie Sherrill came back. Is the biggest percentage of Latinos who voted for a gubernatorial candidate in New Jersey, 68%. Only Senator Menendez used to get 68% of Latinos to vote for him. And Mikie Sherrill did it. And we did it by one-on-one conversations, by recreating the base, by having relationships, and then investing in Latino media, Univision, Telemundo, YouTube, the local newspapers, and then putting a team on the ground that came from the community. And then people see themselves invested in the party. That takes a lot of work. It's not easy. You have to fight with the consultants team for the resources. You have to convince them that those resources need to be spent. But being in the room, having those conversations makes the difference. And I think that that's the opportunity that I had with Mikie Sherrill. And that's the opportunity that all of us, if you're young and you're 20, 25, don't be allowed just to be put in one spot on the field. Learn the entire game, learn the numbers, learn the message, then go in and ask questions, because that's the type of Latino operatives that we need to have. Not just demanding a spot, but actually demanding making decisions. And it's hard. I mean, Chuck and I go at it all the time with the consultant class. They want us just to tell them how to translate something. And I'm like, no, I'm not a translator. You want my opinion, I give it to you. And then you have to take it in. So that I think that's what I learned more, like how to claim your space and how to demand that type of opportunity from the candidate.
Good for you. That's just some real wisdom here. Look, the through lines that I'm hearing is having that seat at the table is so important. Somebody who understands and is from the community, can relate to the community, build a ground structure from the floor up. You said something that's just sticking with me too, which was Latinos are in an economic crisis, right? And crisis is such a strong but accurate word. Like,
Yeah.
we're in a crisis when we're willing to vote for a guy like Donald Trump. Like, things are bad when that's an
Yes.
option. You got to listen to the community saying we need help, like we need results, we need some fight here. And I love the way you've characterized that. I think I'm probably going to borrow that for some stuff later on today. I do want to say I heard Mikie Sherrill's speech afterwards, and I thought it was quite remarkable because she was speaking to those economic concerns. This is after she won. What were you? What messages were you working on? What economic messages worked to like move the vote back that much?
Well, I think it's a combination of, in New Jersey is one of the most expensive states to live. There's one because we're sandwiched by New York City and by Philadelphia. It's a
Yeah,
very expensive market. And we still have a lot of people that only make $50,000 a year, and they have to figure out how to pay their rent and have a house, have a mortgage, send their kids to school. So this is an economic anxiety that they're living in. But we also have a high level of entrepreneurial spirit in the Latino community. A lot of Latinos build their businesses, small businesses. But there are over 175,000 Latino small business owners that who also in crisis, that at any given moment, they don't have enough to pay their employees. So that combination of listening to their concerns, the cost of utilities is a big issue here in New Jersey, the cost of rent, the inability to afford your mortgage. That is a crisis here, and that's what the issues that she was talking about on an everyday basis and providing solutions to them. But also, those are the issues why Latinos have voted for Donald Trump last year. And Donald Trump lied to them. Donald Trump made things more expensive with the tariffs. Rather than lower the prices, he basically increased the prices of eggs and milk in the supermarket. And we were spending time with Mikey in supermarkets talking about how expensive it was to buy eggs, or talking about how expensive it is to get an apartment that you can afford. Those were the discussions that we were having, which is different than just saying, oh, your rent is expensive because Donald Trump is bad. We did not talk about Donald Trump. We were saying this is bad because the economy is bad, and this is what I'm going to do about. And I think that that's the shift, because Latinos were tired of Democrats just saying everyone's it's Donald Trump's fault that you're in bad condition.
You're giving us something to vote. You're giving us something to vote for, not just against.
We're also upset at Donald Trump because of immigration. Remember, Latinos voted for Donald Trump because he promised them safer communities, because we were gonna get rid of the criminal elements in our neighborhood. But that's not what they got. What they got is Donald Trump arresting their neighbors, raiding their businesses, and taking their innocent, hardworking neighbors from the streets. That's what they got, and they were pissed at him. But we couldn't just blame Donald Trump for that. We said, if you want somebody to protect your civil liberties and stand up to Donald Trump and fix the prices of electricity, vote for us. And I think that's the discipline message that Mikey was able to have, and we didn't fall into this trap of just sending Donald Trump his bad mailers. And there were some suggestions of sending Donald Trump his bad mailers, and we said that's not going to work. Latinos don't want to hear that. They're tired of Democrats just blaming Trump. They want to hear what our solutions are. And people at the door were having the same conversations. What are the solutions that Mikey is proposing? And those were the good conversations that we had at the door.
One of the things I want to pull on a thread here is we talked about the difficult choices she had to make to go to work for Mikey, because lots of folks assumed she'd be with one of these labor candidates. And now she is in the chair of being, running one of the most successful Latino operations. But let's dig under that, Mike. Here's something you don't know I couldn't talk about on the podcast, was that when Patricia gets there, she gets there with lots of other folks who are trying to do good things in many campaigns that me and Mike Madrid have been in a lot of times. Yeah. And tell me if this sounds familiar, Mike, where she's told, well, in this county, we have to use this consultant. And in this county, we have to use this consultant. And in this county, because we've always used them, they have relationships with the local party there. Have you ever heard that before, Mike?
All the time, every time.
See?
Yes.
And so she put her neck out there as a badass Latina and was like, look, sure, let's get some of these folks in for sure. We should also open this up to an RFP and bring in some voices of folks who have done this. This is how Chuck Rocha ends up in New Jersey. I'll tell everybody that. Like, as we had a RFP, we won some of them, we didn't win some of them, but we become one of the field consultants. There was others. I get, a lot of credit to lots of folks out there, lots of party leaders doing good work. But we did $500,000 with just my firm in Latino households in Passaic and some of the surrounding areas, where we put a Latina on the ground, Carolina, and she's recruiting local people that we're paying to walk in their own community, which is the way this, not saying that it wasn't done, and I'm not bad-mouthing other consultants who had been there before, but this is something very different, that when you have somebody like Patricia there, you have somebody saying, let's do different things. And I think that played out in all of the race, all up and down the state, right, Patricia?
Yes, it was. The game changer here is that, and you said it happens everywhere. It's not unique to New Jersey, is that there's some consultants that get the contracts all the time, and they get used to doing things one way, and they use the same people, the same messaging. And that's what we had in New Jersey for the last 20 years, the same consultants doing the same work. And I came in and I said, well, why are we using the same folks that have been losing races, for the last 20 years? Why don't we? Oh, because I can't move them because they're connected to this, they're connected. So then split up the contract and then bring different talent with different skills so that we can actually shake this thing up. Because that's what we needed to do. We needed to shake it up and bring other voices in. And that's how we ended up opening from RFP and breaking down the field contract and breaking out some other contracts so that more people were able to come and help us. Because the biggest mistake that we have in a political class of consultants is that they want to be the only ones, and they don't want competition. But when you don't allow competition, then people get lazy. they do the same thing, hire the same people, give the same contribution. And frankly, more of our Latino base, our Latino volunteers need to get the skills to be able to do this work. That's how they get excited and people get invested. So I am very, very proud that the Mikie campaign and the party, because he learned his lesson, the party was open to breaking out the contracts and allowing for more competition from folks. And all of us needed to prove themselves. Now, I was very confident when I said we want to change Passaic County, we want to change that area. We need somebody who actually knows how to talk to Latinos because this is building out for Nelly Poe. CD9 that's one of our races that we need to win next year. Also, Rob Menendez in Hudson County. We needed to get those votes back, or we couldn't, or we wouldn't be able to keep Nelly Poe and Ron Menendez on those seats. And I think that's what we did. We were very clear about what we're trying to do in those areas. And Chuck, I'm so excited that you and their team, you were able to come in here and help us get that done.
Were you seeing more ground activity from Chitterelli and the Republicans? Did they give up on Latinos, or were they in there trying to fight too, or what were they doing?
They were there. I mean, I swear, I always like to run like I'm losing because otherwise you like get lazy, right? But it was a close election because Chitterelli had run 3 times already, 12 years. People know him. Chitterelli is like, you remember George Bush? Like you meet him and you just want to sit down and have a beer with him and eat that steak that you're gonna give Chuck. Like you just want to hang out with the guy, and
Right.
shaking hands and big hugs, And he had been going to Latino communities and dining and wining with mayors, so he had those relationships. So we were actually trying to catch up and trying to like rebuild the relationships for Mikie on the bottom. But Mikie is also a person who, once you get to know her, you like her because she actually listens. And so but we were like introducing her to people. Remember, she had only run in a very suburban district, see the 11. So we were catching up. The problem, I think, that if Chitterelli had separated himself from Donald Trump a little bit more, I think it would have been a closer race because people liked him, but he refused to criticize Donald Trump. He refused to separate himself from his policies. And he actually defended Donald Trump in neighborhoods. And I think that combination really ruined his chances with the Latino community. And we were able to come in and step in and said, we have solutions for your problems. And Jack Chitterelli ain't offering you any other than shaking your hand. And he's not separating himself from Donald Trump. So I think that's the combination that turned this thing around for us and gave us this big return.
So the follow-up to that is natural, which is, Patricia, how do we not go back? This is such a fluid electorate now. It's proven that it's willing to go over here for Donald Trump. It's willing to go over here for Mikie Sherrill, as Mike Madrid says. This is a fluid electorate that moves back and forth, is trying to figure out who's with me, who's not with me. And as we move into 26, there's no statewide race. There's no more governor's race in 26. There's no Senate race. Nelly Poe has a congressional race. There's a couple other congressional races there. I'm going to talk later today with Rob Menendez on my Substack show. So the through line here is what's next? How do we make sure that and all the gains that we just had stay with us and they don't go right back to voting for the Republican in the next time because Democrats let them down if Mikie can't fix the utility cost or whatever? Like, what's the investments and the operations or the organizing that you're so good at? What has to happen now to keep these Latinos voting Democrat?
One of the things that happened as well, because once Mikie became the nominee for the Democratic Party, we have to integrate the field operation into the New Jersey State Democratic Committee. And I will say that the DNC actually came in and supported the effort of how do we build a long-term plan for the Latino electorate. What we have been arguing, I say we because I am one of the Latino leaders, but that has been arguing for a long time, is that we need permanent investment in the Latino vote in New Jersey to keep the grassroots operations happening. It cannot be a 30-day investment in October before an election. It has to be an ongoing investment on connecting leadership to the county committee races, to the party, keeping them engaged and making them feel part of the operation so they're ready to to engage in election time. The other thing that we need to do in New Jersey is that we actually need to run more Latino candidates for office. And this is part of the reason why I ran for office, because we have such a dearth of Latino political leadership in New Jersey that is a challenge for the DNC and for Democrats here. Now, last year when we lost 10 points in Passaic to the Republicans, people still voted for Nellie Poe. And it's the same thing for Ron Menendez. Even when we lost percentage points to Republicans, people were still voting for Ron Menendez because Latinos do want to see Latino candidates and have that identification with them as the ones that are representing the community. So what I Mikey now is the leader of the Democratic Party in New Jersey. She has a deep understanding of what it takes to build coalitions. But now we need the party and the DNC to continue its investment in New Jersey. I've told them that if we do not keep the same level of investment that we had in this election going, we can lose Latinos again. And I think that's the learning that I hope because in New Jersey got, that you actually have to have a 24/7, 365 days around engagement with Latinos, not just 30 days before an election.
I think it's so healthy to hear people from both sides of the aisle running from a position where they believe that the other side of the aisle can go and win those votes, because it makes us a lot more focused as a party, regardless of which party, on meeting the needs of the community. Have you seen that change from like a Mikie Sherrill from the very top, that this is going to be a priority and that there's going to be a focus on the issues that affect the Latino communities?
Mikey, as a candidate, I think that's what's remarkable about her as a candidate is that she has a deep understanding of where New Jersey is at and how she positions herself to win races by addressing those problems. She's a problem solver. And one of the things that I always say about Latinos is that we are not any different than the rest of the electorate. We are not just one issue voters. We care about all the same things that other voters care about. So you have to invest in us like you invest in a white suburban voter, like you invest in a white male voter. You have to talk to us. The only difference is that you have to have some cultural nuance, and you have to be interested in our culture, in our stories, and you have to show it. You cannot just fake it. So, but I think she understands that, and she was never trying to be fake about it. She was always trying to understand what Latinos wanted to hear. Now, as a Latina operative, I believe that if Republicans are truly willing to listen and not just go with Donald Trump in the message of division, that they can be competitive. And I don't want them to be competitive. I don't want them to win, but I want them also to create this opportunity for actual negotiations with our community on the issues that matters to us. And I think that's when the Latino community is stronger, when we have both parties trying to gain our attention, because then we're in a place that we can negotiate policy solutions. Maybe I get that because I'm a labor leader and a union leader. And as a union leader, you have to get to a point that people want to negotiate with you. And then that's when you get something on the table. And I think that to me, it's like the worst thing that we can have is a Republican Party that has no influence in the Latino Party, because then we don't have a place to negotiate. So, but I believe myself to be a good Democratic political operative, so I always out to win for Democrats. But I think that we as a community gain more strength when Republicans actually do pay attention to our issues as well.
I was smiling because I knew that Mike would appreciate you talking about how we and the community does better when there's two parties fighting for our attention and trying to deliver services to us so that they can gain our support and our help. We talk about it a lot here on the Latino Vote podcast. Patricia, we really appreciate having you here today. For the listeners, we really wanted to pull the curtain back. We're going to try to do the same for Virginia, just so you know. I'm trying to find the lead Latino over there who did some of that work, because we want to learn as me and Mike are going looking towards the midterm elections, right? I want to get under the hood, of this Nelly Poe district coming up in the spring and look at that a little bit. Maybe we'll have you back, or you could tell us somebody else to talk to. Mike, Nelly's, as we've talked about, is one of those 20 seats that can swing back and forth. That's a marginal seat that has a heavy Latino population. And so we're going to really be thinking about this. And you, the listener, this is what we want to talk about, is like we talk about the deficiencies of what a lot of campaigns have done. But when there's something that special happens, if you listen to last week's episode, which I re-listened to this morning, something crazy happened. And it either was because they were so mad at Donald Trump, and I think that's a piece of it, that they really are. Nobody has still fixed the problem that they keep screaming about, which is my life is getting more expensive and nobody's trying to help me make it less expensive. And, that we have this argument or debates about what's the best way to do it. Well, Patricia was on the ground. Now, what she did may or may not work somewhere else, but we know it damn sure worked. So we want to bring that to you, the listeners, every week to figure out and get under this thing and learn about it, because I'll learn something, Mike learned something, and we'll do it again next week. Mike, you got any closing thoughts?
No, just thank you so much. Again, felicidades. Congratulations. What a huge victory, a huge win. Thanks for sharing your insight with us. These are some of the largest Latino swings anywhere in the country we've seen ever. So appreciate you, appreciate your hard work. Come back again and give us an update on how things continue with the party in New Jersey, and love to have you back again.
Patricia, give us your social media handles too on your way out.
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much. And I couldn't have done any of this without my Latino team, the base. So Beverly Santana, Teresa Archambault, everybody who helped me build this thing out. So I want to just shout out to them. Follow me at Dr. Campos-Medina on all social media handles. I put out there about what I'm doing and what New Jersey is doing. And let's just learn from each other. At the end of the day, what you need is Latinos connected to the party on the ground so that they can feel invested in the party. And that's all of our job, and it's the job of the leadership. So thank you for having me and for just keep pushing this issue of the importance of the Latino vote nationally.
And for everybody else who's listening, don't forget to like and subscribe. Go to the YouTube channel where you can see how much prettier Patricia is than these two old Mexican operatives. Make sure that you're liking all the posts, that you're sharing it on social media. For those of you who are lucky enough to still have your mom and dad, give them a buzz. And until next week, we'll see you then.